By noon that day, the sunlight was bright enough to make every window on our street shine like polished glass, but behind one of those windows, a woman was breaking quietly where no one could see. I found my neighbor sitting on the edge of my porch steps with a trembling phone in her hand, her wedding ring twisting around her finger, and a sentence stuck in her throat that would change both our lives. She needed proof her husband was cheating, and I thought helping her would make me a good man. I never imagined kindness could become a door I should not have opened. Before this story begins, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the kind of truth that can hurt before it heals, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Lifeline Diaries. Your support helps stories like this reach someone who may be silently going through the same pain. My name was Armin Vale, and I lived in a quiet neighborhood where most people smiled from their driveways but never truly knew what was happening behind each other's curtains. Across the street lived Soraya Finch, a soft-spoken woman with careful hands, tired eyes, and a garden full of yellow marigolds she watered every morning before the sun grew too hot. Her husband, Callum Finch, was the kind of man everyone thought was charming because he knew how to shake hands, remember names, and laugh loudly at neighborhood barbecues. From the outside, they looked like a perfect couple, the kind people used as proof that marriage could still be beautiful. But sometimes perfection is only a clean coat of paint over a wall full of cracks. I first noticed something was wrong on a bright Tuesday afternoon, not at night, not under rain, not in the shadows, but in the sharp, honest light of day. Soraya stood near her mailbox, staring at Callum's car as he drove away wearing a shirt too expensive for a normal workday and carrying a gift bag she had not wrapped. She did not cry then. She only stood still, as if her body had forgotten how to move. Later, while I was fixing the loose hinge on my front gate, she came over with a small excuse about borrowing a screwdriver, but her voice broke before she could finish. She told me Callum had been leaving at strange hours, hiding his phone, deleting messages, and coming home smelling like unfamiliar perfume. She had asked him, and he had smiled the way guilty men smile when they know they can make a woman doubt herself. He called her insecure. He called her dramatic. He told her she was ruining their marriage with suspicion. At first, I told her what any decent neighbor should have said, that she should talk to someone she trusted, protect herself legally, and not destroy herself chasing shadows. But Soraya looked at me with eyes so full of humiliation that my advice felt useless. She said she did not need revenge. She needed proof because without proof, Callum would turn everyone against her. He had already started telling friends she was unstable. He had already mentioned to her sister that Soraya had become paranoid. The cruelty of that made something hot rise in my chest. I had seen my own mother live under a man who lied so smoothly that even truth sounded crazy coming from her mouth. So when Soraya asked if I could help her confirm where he was going during the day, I said yes before I fully understood what yes would cost. The first few days felt harmless. I noticed when Callum left. I wrote down times. I watched from my porch while pretending to clean my tools. I told myself I was not spying, only helping a frightened woman collect facts. On Thursday afternoon, Callum left at 1:17, wearing cologne strong enough to linger in the driveway. Soraya stood inside her curtains, watching him disappear. I followed from a careful distance in my old blue truck, hands tight on the wheel, heart beating harder than it should have. He drove past his office building and parked outside a small cafe with green umbrellas. A woman in a cream dress was waiting near the entrance. When Callum saw her, his whole face changed. It became younger, lighter, free from the burden of pretending. He hugged her too long. Then he kissed her in the open afternoon sun. That I should have taken one photo and left. That would have been enough. Instead, I sat there staring like a man watching a fire spread and convincing himself he was only measuring the smoke. I took pictures through the windshield. I waited as they laughed over lunch. I followed when they left together. Each turn made me feel more powerful and more ashamed. By the time I returned home, my hands were shaking. Soraya opened her door before I even crossed the street, and when I showed her the photos, she did not scream. She folded slowly into a chair, as if every bone inside her had been removed. The proof she had begged for became a blade the moment she held it. After that day, something changed between us. Soraya began coming over in the afternoons because her house felt haunted by memories. She sat at my kitchen table while sunlight moved across the floor, telling me pieces of her marriage she had hidden for years. How Callum corrected her in public with a smile. How he controlled money but called it planning. How he made her apologize for feelings he caused. I listened because she needed someone to believe her, and being believed can feel like oxygen to someone who has been slowly suffocating. But I also began to need those visits in a way I did not want to admit. My house had been lonely for years. Her voice filled rooms that had forgotten warmth. Her sadness made me protective, and my protection slowly became something dangerous. The line was not crossed all at once. It happened in small, quiet steps. I started checking Callum's routine without Soraya asking. I drove past the cafe again. I searched social media for the woman in the cream dress and found her name was Nessa Greer, a real estate agent who posted bright photos of open houses and motivational quotes about new beginnings. I gave Soraya details she had not requested. I fed her pain with information because it made me feel useful. One afternoon, she touched my hand while thanking me, and neither of us moved away quickly enough. The room became painfully still. We were two wounded people standing too close to the edge of something we could not survive. The worst moment came on a Saturday morning flooded with golden daylight. Soraya called me in tears because Callum had accused her of following him. He had found nothing, but he sensed something. Panic took over my better judgment. I told Soraya to come to my house, and while she sat in my living room, I made the decision that still burns in my memory. I took the spare key she had once given me in case of emergencies, went into her home while Callum was gone, and helped her look through his office drawer. We found receipts, a hotel card sleeve, and a second phone hidden behind old tax folders. My stomach turned the moment I touched it. This was no longer neighborly help. This was invasion. This was me stepping into a marriage, into a home, into evidence I had no right to touch. Soraya knew it too. She stared at the phone on the desk as if it were poisonous. For a moment, the truth sat between us, heavy and ugly. She had wanted proof, but I had become too involved. I had let my anger at Callum, my memories of my mother, and my growing attachment to Soraya blur every boundary. When Callum suddenly returned earlier than expected, the sound of his car door closing outside felt like thunder. Soraya shoved the phone back. I slipped through the side door and crossed into my yard with my pulse roaring in my ears. From my kitchen window, I saw Callum enter the house smiling, completely unaware that the life he had built on lies had almost collapsed in the middle of a sunny morning. That afternoon, Soraya came over not crying, but changed. Her face was pale, her voice quiet, and she said we had gone too far. The words hurt because they were true. She said Callum's betrayal did not give us permission to lose ourselves. She said if she used proof gathered the wrong way, he would not only attack her character, he would be right about one thing: pain had made her desperate. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to say I did it for her. But the most honest part of me knew I had also done it for myself. I liked being needed. I liked being the man who showed up when her husband failed. That realization made me feel smaller than any insult Callum could have thrown. For 2 days, Soraya did not come by. Her curtains stayed closed. Her marigolds drooped under the heat. I moved around my house like a ghost, replaying every choice, every photo, every moment I had mistaken involvement for kindness. On Monday afternoon, I saw Callum outside loading a suitcase into his car. He looked angry, not guilty. Soraya stood on the porch behind him, shoulders straight, sunlight on her face. She did not look broken anymore. She looked terrified, but steady. Later, she came to my gate and told me she had contacted a lawyer, spoken to her sister, and given only the cafe photos taken from a public place. She had left the hidden phone untouched. She had chosen a clean path, even though the dirty one might have been easier. Then she said something I will never forget. She told me that I had helped her wake up, but I had also almost helped her become someone she would regret. There was no cruelty in her words, only truth. She thanked me for believing her when no one else did, but she asked me to step back while she rebuilt her life. I nodded because love, even the quiet kind that never gets named, must know when to release its grip. I apologized, not with excuses, not with stories about my past, but plainly. I told her I crossed a line. I told her she deserved help that did not come tangled with my own loneliness. For the first time in years, I felt the strange peace of admitting the whole truth. Weeks passed. Callum moved out after his affair became impossible to deny. The neighborhood whispered, as neighborhoods always do, but Soraya did not shrink. She cut her hair shorter, painted her front door blue, and brought her marigolds back to life one patient morning at a time. I watched from a respectful distance, helping only when she asked and never stepping beyond what was right. Sometimes healing looked like dramatic exits and signed papers. Sometimes it looked like a woman drinking tea alone on her porch and realizing the silence no longer frightened her. One bright afternoon near the end of summer, Soraya came across the street carrying a small wooden planter box. She had filled it with marigolds from her garden. She placed it on my porch and said it was for my mother, because I had once told her how much my mother loved yellow flowers. That simple kindness nearly broke me. Not because it promised romance, but because it offered forgiveness without pretending nothing had happened. We stood there in the daylight, two people changed by the same painful season, both understanding that some connections are meant to save you, not keep you. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs courage, and comment your thoughts below. Your engagement helps Lifeline Diaries bring more emotional stories of truth, healing, and second chances to people who need them most. Special request: comment kindness needs boundaries. If you believe helping someone should never mean losing yourself. In the end, Soraya got the proof she needed, but what saved her was not the evidence. It was the moment she chose dignity over revenge. And what saved me was not being called a good neighbor. It was learning that even kindness can become selfish if we use someone else's pain to fill the empty places inside us. The sun was shining the day everything began, and it was shining again when it finally ended, softer now, warmer somehow, falling across the marigolds on my porch like a quiet reminder that truth can break a life open, but it can also let the light in.